Oh, baby, we are back at it again, finally, with some real casted Call of Duty talk about. The CDL kicks off this weekend with the Kickoff Classic in Dallas on LAN. It's going to be a wild one, and there is so much to learn and to see in this event with so many storylines about teams or the metas, about maps, game modes, rookie debuts, LAN debuts, and so much more. So we're gonna be going over all of the biggest topics and storylines and the biggest questions that need answered or that will be answered this weekend as well. There's a lot to talk about. Single elimination bracket, my goodness. Without further ado, let's get right into this video. Let's go. All right, so as every day passes, I'm getting more and more excited for this event. From a player perspective, it's gonna be insanely chaotic with Control debuting for the first time on LAN and like basically for the first time in this game, considering it's barely been scrimmed. And then S&D as well. Obviously, pros don't play it that often against each other. So there's gonna be a bunch of chaos, insertion, destroy, not to mention it's on LAN, not to mention it's a single elimination tournament. Overall, I'm just getting more and more excited. And obviously, it's been a minute since I've uploaded a video. That's not a podcast. So we're finally back on the roll. Tips videos will be coming out soon as well. Hopefully ranked play as well, but that's a whole nother point. So on that point, the first thing that I am really excited about at this tournament is seeing Control actually in action. Like I said, we've only seen it for about a week or two in scrim. So watching Boston scrimming Control, it's looked all right, but we only have 2 maps that are playable. So not 3 like last year. Usually the third game mode recently has had 3 maps at least to choose from, like with CTF in World War II or Control last year, whatever it is. Normally you got a few options, but only 2 this year, which is not great. But it's gonna be interesting, man. It's looked good so far. Obviously a huge X factor in this event, and a team can take home $30,000. So we're gonna learn a lot about how this game mode plays. I'll be doing videos breaking down the game mode itself as well after the event, and I am pumped to learn a lot about this game mode. So number 2, the Surge. My goodness, is the hype real? Has gotta be the question. In the coaches poll that Breaking Point put out after interviewing all of the CDL coaches, the Surge are number 4 on the power rankings. They've been very, very good in scrims, and we even saw that like just ourselves when they played against Boston a few times and when they played against OpTic before OpTic stopped streaming scrims. So Sib and Pred on that roster, they both looked very good, and Mac was dominating in those scrims against OpTic. There's some promise here with this team, and we've heard they've been very, very good in hardpoint. Again, obviously scrims are basically 95% hardpoint at this point, but I'd be a little bit nervous to put them at 4 in my power rankings off of just hardpoint. I'd be most worried with this team insertion destroy, so we'll see what happens. But obviously, these guys have talent. They're nasty young guns who have the gunnies, and it makes sense that they're at least pretty good in hardpoint. Let's see what happens in S&D and Control. All right, number 3, come on, man. How are snipers, how are smokes, how are they gonna be used? That's a huge question at the kickoff event. I mean, we obviously saw the drama that went down with the GAs and the potential smoke and sniper GAs of last week. So they're giving it a go here at the kickoff event to see how it goes. And then heading into stage 1, it could be G8. Obviously, as fans, all of us want the smokes and snipers in the game. It makes it more interesting. It makes everything more exciting about the ecosystem of playing the game. And the less GAs, the simpler it is for the devs to kind of get on board with the GAs and actually enforce some of this stuff inside the game itself, especially when ranked play ends up coming out. So long story short, I really hope snipers and smokes work. I am gonna keep a close eye on that during the kickoff event for sure. All right, so the 4th thing is huge. Are the Toronto Ultra the same? Last time we saw them, they nearly beat FaZe in the grand finals at CoD Champs. We have barely seen them this offseason in scrims because they were back in Europe throughout the holidays, and they were scrimming EU teams. So they just got back to the States. They've been scrimming a little bit, but most teams have barely scrimmed them or barely seen them play at all. Like Seattle said, they just scrimmed them for like the first time this week. Draws had said that they've only scrimmed them 1 time. They're absolutely the team we know the least about, and we don't know how they're gonna perform on this game. This is something we talked about in the bold predictions episode on the podcast yesterday. I highly recommend checking out if you haven't already. But there is some legit questions with Toronto and how they could fit in this game. So I'm pumped to see how they play in their first matchup against either LAG or the Mutineers, whoever wins that match. All right, number 5, how's the casting without Merc and Maven? It's a real question. It's crazy that it is a question even after last season. But again, we have to think back to last year. At the kickoff event last year, Merc and Maven were in a holdout for contract negotiations. And so far this year, based off their tweets, it's a little bit less likely or not looking as positive for them about casting this season. And the CDL already announced Ali and Tun as the next casting duo here. So we're gonna get to see an experiment here with a new casting duo without Merc and Maven there, with Miles and Chance being the #1 casting duo here at this tournament. So we'll see what happens, man. There's a lot up in the air there. We're just gonna have to keep our eye on it. All right, number 6, I mean, to a very similar extent as the Surge, is the Boston hype reel. In that coaches poll power rankings, they were listed as the 5th team in the power rankings. So a top 5 team for this new roster of Methods, Nero, Capsule, and Tej. And again, they've been streaming. They're the only team streaming their scrims right now, which from their perspective, really smart move, building their brand. They've literally already created one of the bigger fan bases in the CDL, which is crazy. Obviously, part of that's thanks to Methods and his popularity in the scene. Either way, smart moves from them. And not only that, they've looked good. They've looked very, very good, beating a lot of really good teams in scrims. Nero and Capsule have been fantastic. Tej has looked very good. So overall, their slaying looks like it's there inside hardpoint. Even in control, they've been very, very competitive. And Simp did an interview with Breaking Point and Rab, and he was talking about how they've looked good. And like Boston was one of the first teams he mentioned when he was asked about his top 5 teams. So there's a lot of potential here. And so we can see if they live up to the hype in a really, really interesting first matchup against the Subliners. And so that might be the most interesting matchup of the whole day. That or the Surge v London match as well. So winner moves on, loser goes home. So that's why I'm excited for this thing, man. There's so much to learn. So on the same note, only 2 left. Number 7 here, the Florida Mutineers. There's been a lot of negativity about Florida and the roster, obviously, with Dave Patty coming in. And not only that, but they've actually been switching up their roles. So now Dave Patty's the main AR, Skies is the flex, and then you've got Awakening and Vivid as the main SMGs. So we're gonna see a new look Mutineers at this tournament in their first matchup against LAG, another team that's really interesting with that new roster as well. Like I said, they were number 11 in the coaches poll power rankings. So coaches are pretty low on Florida. So we'll see if they can pull off a win against LAG, an upset against LAG, or if they're a little bit better than what people think. We'll have to see. So finally here at number 8, pretty straightforward. We've already talked about a lot of these guys, but the rookie debuts, obviously Pred and Sib on Seattle, Nasty and Gizmo on London in that same match, Surge versus London. Then you've got Dave Patty on Florida, and then you've got Nero and Capsule on Breach. All of them, I am beyond hyped to see how they play on LAN. We've seen some really good debuts from players in Cold War, in Modern Warfare, and a lot of those guys are still in the league as well. And so making a big debut off the start is huge for a career. And usually when a guy dominates early, it usually means they're pretty decent. We haven't seen very many situations where a guy dominates early and then ends up being a bust. So we'll see what happens. But I am pumped to see those guys' first appearances on LAN. We get to see who has the ice and who doesn't right off the rip, things you love to see. The other things to mention, although LA Thieves and LAG, the LA teams are playing from LA. So they've been scrimming online. And so the question is, maybe they're better than what teams think right now because of the connection differences and how that's gone. And Draws has said with the dedicated servers this year in the custom games, it's been a little bit better. So like worst case scenario has been like a 50 ping to 10 ping difference, like a 40 ping difference in their scrims. So not as bad as some previous years, but still can make a significant difference in your performance, especially against the greatest players in the world. So we'll see how those teams react. Obviously, their rosters are interesting in themselves as well, with the debuts of Envoy and Octane on LA Thieves and the whole squad on LAG as well. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So overall, I'm pumped to talk about Call of Duty again, finally, with some more going on in the scene. And hopefully we can get some news on ranked play sooner than later and have that within the next month as well. And then we'll be rocking and rolling. So drop all your comments down below. Here's a video of the podcast this week of bold predictions for the season. Here's the video for last week and our kickoff predictions for this event. And also our podcast from 3 weeks ago was with Shift, going over predictions as well. So there's a lot of talking happening, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. We'll talk to you very soon. Peace.